There still seems to be a little confusion outside the Magic bubble on why Paolo Banchero got the max. So let's break it down and why the Magic's clock is now ticking today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is July 9th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Magic fans don't need to hear this, but I'm going to arm you with the information to tell those internet warriors to shove it and that Paolo Banchero is worth more than the max. We'll address those issues, plus why this means the clock is officially ticking. We'll reset some of those thoughts coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day by making it your first listen of the day or first of your everyday routine. We appreciate all of our everydayers. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you've listened to this show for the last year, we've been saying Paolo Banchero is going to get a max contract. It was not a matter of if, but when. In fact, you could freeze and cold take me on this. There are extenuating circumstances, and clearly there was some negotiating that went on. We all thought it was going to be the first thing that Shams Charania reported on June 30th. That's how easy and how sure all of us were that Paolo Banchero was going to get a max extension. That he got a max extension is not a surprise. The surprise was that he got the fifth-year player option. And, you know, I've had some people and some Magic fans debate why the Magic gave him that and all that. And then, to me, honestly, like, stars have all the leverage. If that's what he and his representation wanted, I don't think that should be a snag to get the deal done. There's no reason to put a hard line on that. And look, there might be some strategic advantages to having all three of your four main players become free agents the same summer. We'll get to why that is a ticking clock here in a minute. I was surprised, though, that there is still a debate about Paolo Banchero's stardom. Like, sure, we can debate whether you can truly build a championship team around him, and that's what we're going to find out over the next 5 years, right? That's a fair debate to have. It's not a fair debate to make conclusions on, which a lot of people seem to want to do in this ever debate-heavy world. But even our friends at Locked On NBA, even PTI, everywhere there is still debate. Is this a max player? They may look at the basic stats and say, oh, well, the Magic haven't won a playoff series since he came into the league. The Magic, he's made only one All-Star team, no All-NBA teams yet. Granted, last year, he made the All-Star team his second season, won Rookie of the Year his first season, would have been an All-Star his third season if not for getting injured 5 games into the year. Still finished fifth or fourth, I think, fifth. He finished fifth in All-Star voting for forwards, and with Jason Tatum out of the picture this year, very, very real chance that Paolo Banchero is an All-Star starter this year. Those are all the basic things. I'm already combating. You can tell, I want to go to war for Paolo Banchero. Let's make this clear. I will give constructive criticism. I will say these are areas Paolo needs to go get better, but I am going to go to war for Paolo Banchero because there is no doubt he is worth the max. Just on the basic things that I've countered arguments saying, oh, Paolo's not a max player. He hasn't done as much as Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards didn't get the player option. And sure, that argument I'll actually concede. I was like, look, I don't know if Paolo deserved the power to get a player option, but nevertheless, Paolo Banchero is 100% a max player. Look no further than the fact that the Magic went from 25 wins the year before they drafted Paolo to the last team eliminated from postseason contention his rookie year, to a playoff team and 5 seed his second season, to a 41-41 team beset by injuries his third season, to now looking like a true Eastern Conference contender. But that's always not enough, because whenever you talk about Paolo, they always bring up, oh, the advanced stats don't really look great. The Magic aren't a better team with him on the floor. And, look, thief is the comparison of joy. I have always been adamant that it does not matter who the best player on the team is. It's Paolo and Franz, not Paolo or Franz. But it seems like, I'm sorry, if you watch this team, as good as Franz Wagner is, Paolo Banchero is a vortex of attention. Teams send double and triple teams at him regularly. And he's a young player going to make mistakes handling that. But here's where things stand out to me. Yes, he has the raw numbers, and people try to ding him for his raw numbers, but 25.9 points per game last year, 7.5 rebounds per game, 4.8 assists per game. He shot 45.2% from the floor, which included his terrible run through January, right after he came back from the injury. That's in line with what he shot his second season when he was an all-star. He shot only 32% from three, and obviously he has to get better there and get more efficient there. But if the biggest complaint about Paolo Banchero is his efficiency, let me put that to rest right now. If we concede that much of his season was consumed with getting healthy, when he came back in January, he was not healthy. He was still getting his wind back, and it was clear. He just was not on. He didn't look the same. And those numbers are baked into his full season numbers. But after the All-Star break, in 24 games, more than half his season, Paolo Banchero delivered an efficiency that the Magic want and that all of his critics want. 29 points per game. 7.8 rebounds per game, 4.5 assists per game, 47.3 shooting overall, 33.3% from three, which isn't great, but is good for Paolo. 78.3% from the foul line, 221 total free throw attempts over 24 games is 9.2 free throw attempts per game. He remains one of the best players at getting to the line. And somehow there are people that will argue his playoff performance is a ding for him. Well, guess what? Yeah, he took 24.8 shots, most shots of any player in the playoffs. You see the team that's around him? You see how Boston didn't care about the Magic's three-point shooting? How Paolo carried his team into a competitive series. 5 games, but competitive nonetheless. Paolo's still 22, guys. He's still 22. And it feels like everybody wants to talk about him like he's some finished product. Everybody wants to talk about him like he is not going to keep getting better. He is not going to continue to be one of the best young players in the league. And thank you to former Magic player Matt Barnes on All the Smoke for saying the quiet part out loud. Why isn't Paolo Banchero in the conversation to be the face of the NBA? Well, some of it certainly is. The Magic are still kind of anonymous. The Magic aren't on TV a lot. They haven't advanced past the first round. Everyone recognizes the Magic as a nice young team. And look, so much of the next few years is shedding that label and becoming true contender so that Paolo and Franz and all of their players can get into these conversations. Again, thief is the comparison of joy. I think Jalen Williams is an awesome player. He is playing his role for that Oklahoma City Thunder team and excelling in his role. He is starring in his role. But Jalen Williams is in front of a lot more eyes. And again, he's starring in his role. I'm not dinging him as a player. He is starring in his role. Paolo Banchero is starring in his role too, and the wins are going to follow because the Magic have gotten a lot more serious about putting a better team around him. There is no doubt that Paolo Banchero is a max player. Anyone who doubts that hasn't watched him play. Plain and simple. Anyone who doubts that Paolo Banchero shouldn't have gotten this max contract doesn't watch him enough. Because we see him every day and we see the incredible things he does. We've seen the impact he has had on this team and the impact he has had on winning. It's now just about taking it to the next level. And the Magic have provided him a team to help him do that. But that's where we're sitting next. That's where we're going next. Because now it's about winning. And yeah, Paolo has that leverage of that player option. The clock is already ticking. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. It can be surprising when you actually track things to see how much you're spending on things like subscriptions, ordering out, or really anything. This Monarch Money allows you to track all of that, see what you're spending, and then take action to reduce or to say, you know what, I'm comfortable with that. It's all good. It gives you the full financial picture. And that's why having it in one app, managing your money day to day, is so advantageous for you. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. So I don't want to be an alarmist about this. I know there's a lot of Magic fans who are very scared of the potential Seattle expansion team. And look, if Paolo Banchero wants to go play in Seattle and that's his dream, there's nothing the Magic can do to stop him. It's been a while since the Magic had a star of this caliber and had a star of this magnitude as Paolo Banchero. And certainly Franz Wagner's in that group as well. Two max players on the team. This is the first time the Magic have had two max players on their roster since Dwight Howard and Rashard Lewis. Again, first time the Magic have had two all-star level, I guess Nikola Vucevic and Victor Oladipo are all-star level players, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. Remember a few years ago when the Magic were considered one of the favorites to acquire Donovan Mitchell. And I sat here and I said, I don't think the Magic should pursue that trade because it starts the clock too soon. I don't think they are ready to have their clock start. Because when you trade for a player like Donovan Mitchell, you have to win and win immediately. The Cleveland Cavaliers, and look, they re-signed him. Everything's good now. But the Cleveland Cavaliers falling in the second round 2 straight years had them scared that Donovan Mitchell was going to leave. I don't think 3 years ago, I don't think the Magic were ready for that. I don't think they were ready to wind that clock and have it start ticking loudly in their ear. And look, when you get a player of Paolo Banchero's caliber, when you get a player of Franz Wagner's caliber, the clock is ticking. There's no doubt about that. I've had a lot of fans tell me, Magic fans are used to their stars leaving after that first rookie contract, after the rookie extension. And I always tell them this. If you have a player of Paolo Banchero's caliber, if you can't build him a championship winning team in 8 years, you don't deserve him. Same deal. If you build a championship winning team and Paolo Banchero still decides to leave, that says more about him than it does about you. And if he wants to leave, he's going to leave. Like, again, it's 4 years down the road. It's a long time in the NBA. But this is the point, too. The Magic are going to be, the Magic with just their top 4 players, their 2027 salaries is more than the 2026 salary cap. With guaranteed contracts, the Magic are about $30 million below the first apron. And those guaranteed contracts do not include Jonathan Isaac, Anthony Black, and Tristan Da Silva. That's about $27 million. In all likelihood, the Magic will re-sign Mo Wagner to a bigger deal. That'll put them very comfortably right up against the second apron. You don't pay that much money unless you're trying to win a championship. And to be sure, with the moves the Magic have made, with the chips the Magic have pushed into the center of the table, with how good they think their young stars can be, the Magic are trying to win a championship. And we need to say the quiet part out loud. The Magic are not shouting it, but they're not hiding from their goal of winning a championship. And it doesn't seem far-fetched anymore. It doesn't seem like a lofty ambition. It seems real. Our friends at FanDuel have the Magic at an over-under of I believe 51.5 wins. This is expected to be a 50-win team. And I've said this already. If this Magic team doesn't win 50 games next year, barring catastrophic injuries, that's a disappointment. That's how good this team should be. Undoubtedly, when you sign a player like Paolo Banchero, like Franz Wagner to these max contracts, that is a deadline. In 4 years, Franz Wagner will be a free agent. Jalen Suggs will be a free agent. Paolo Banchero will have a player option to become a free agent. In 4 years, the Magic need to be able to convince all three of those players to stay. They might need to convince all of those players to take a haircut and not take the max like Jalen Brunson did. And so, very realistically, and this is a pressure you invite. This is the pressure you want. This is not a bad thing. This is reality in the NBA. The Magic are all in on a championship. Their clock to win, their clock to be competitive is ticking already. We have a deadline. We have an end date to reevaluate things and say, is this working? Because if their players are smart and their agents are smart, that's what those players are going to be doing too. And look, there will be a lot of things that happen over the next 4 years. Like this season, the Magic are going to win their first playoff series and probably lose in the second round or lose in the conference finals and eat some failure. They're going to come back the next year. They're going to try and do it again. Maybe they will have that breakthrough in the finals. Maybe they will have that, again, so much of this is still on Paolo and Franz getting better and all this other stuff. But the clock is ticking. You can hear it. It's still faint and off in the distance. It's maybe subtle like it was in Interstellar. But the Magic are on the clock. And again, this is a good thing. This is what you want. This is the pressure you want. You want to be able to compete for championships. You want to be able to fight like this. But this is a reality we all have to get used to. Every move is going to feel weighty. Every move is going to feel that pressure. Every game, every season, every series is going to feel big. And yes, there will be rumors of potential moves and rumors of big things. Everyone, there are a lot of people that seem to already think like, and this was before even Paolo signed the extension, that, at some point the Magic might have to trade Jalen Suggs the same way the Celtics traded Marcus Smart. Or how are the Magic going to cut costs and cut salary to stay under the second apron if they need to make some major moves? All that is still in play. And making one big mistake like the Magic did in 2010 when they traded Dwight Howard, every big mistake could be magnified because that deadline is coming. I'm not here to scare you about this. I'm really not. This is about setting expectations of what the Magic are trying to accomplish. This is about being real about the future. Again, 4 years is a long time in the NBA. Within 4 years, the Magic in 2009 went to the finals, went to the conference finals, and then completely fell apart. Conversely, within 4 years, the Magic went from a 500 playoff team with a young Dwight Howard to signing Rashard Lewis to a max contract, to winning the division for the first time in 12 years, to getting out of the first round for the first time in 12 years, to being in the NBA Finals and being a championship level team. A lot happens within 4 years. And the Magic are going to see a lot happen over the next 4 years. And they hope that it means the ultimate dream. They hope that it means consistent competitiveness at the top of the East, if not the entire league. They seem to be well on that path. The Magic seem to have understood that this clock is happening and that they needed to act by getting Desmond Bane, by getting Tyus Jones, who we'll talk about here in a minute, to do all these things to improve their team, to give them a better chance, because they know this is their shot. They got a little window here. Their first window, their first of, they hope, many windows with Paolo and Franz under these new rules. But the pressure's on to get it right and to do right, because this is the modern NBA. These players want to win and win big. And this is the Magic's opportunity to do so. On that point, then, this is why the Magic are a destination. Why Tyus Jones chose the Orlando Magic. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a moment. Jeff Weltman spoke to the media on Monday about, introducing Tyus Jones and talking about the offseason in general. And he had a really interesting perspective, I thought, on free agency. Usually we talk about free agents. We talk about we talk a lot about your teams wanting players. And that is half the equation. Like, you don't go out and get players if you don't want them. But we don't always talk a ton about the other side of the equation. And Jeff Weltman, I thought, had this interesting perspective, saying, we're happy that Tyus Jones chose us. We're happy that Mo Wagner chose us. And this has been, I think, something that is more important to look at. And it is a little bit of a tonal shift. Like I mentioned, that clock is ticking, but we've always, I think, under Jeff Weltman, complained about the level of free agents the Magic could pursue. They were never going after the top guys. They were never considered front runners for any major trades or anything like that. We were always kind of picking around the margins. Like, I would argue to people that when the Magic signed Al-Farouq Aminu, it was a big deal because they got a starter on a Western Conference finalist to agree to come to their team and come off the bench. Now, obviously, that move didn't work. And I agreed at the time that it wasn't the guy I would have targeted because they needed more shooting. They needed, I get why they did that, but they needed more shooting at the time, as they always do. It obviously didn't work. Injuries, a lot of other things didn't work. But a lot of fans sort of complained when the Magic gave Joe Ingles a 1-year, $11 million contract. A lot of us who knew were like, well, it's just 1 year. They had the money to spend. There was no one else to spend it on. Joe Ingles will help. It was a good move. And look, Joe loved it here. Joe's family still lives here. Joe is still beloved here, I would hope. There's potentially a little bit of that with the Tyus Jones signing. But it does feel like there is a little bit of a shift going on. And that the Magic are going to be a little bit more of a destination, a place that players want to be. Because, look, the Magic have everything else that they could want. The great facility, the good weather, all that stuff. Now they have a team that is a serious contender. And that was very, very clearly something that Tyus Jones was attracted to. Tyus Jones said it very plainly that the talent level is through the roof on this team. He sees this team as a potential contender, as a team that's going to compete at the highest level, which is something that at this point in his career, he's looking for. And he said that straight up. Like, the reason he joined Phoenix last year on a minimum deal was to be on or when he thought was going to be a competitive team. The reason he wants to join the Magic is because he believes they're going to be a competitive team. He wants to help a team win a championship. And look, Tyus Jones is the kind of player, as we mentioned on the pod a couple days ago, he's going to stay out of the way. Like, he's going to do his thing. He's not going to make mistakes. He's going to help space the floor. He said it best, he's not going to overcomplicate things. He's going to be good at very, very simple things. And in the role that the Magic probably have envisioned for him, that's going to be perfect. Tyus Jones is going to be a really good fit. And so he sees value in what this team can do for him just as much as he knows he can give this team what they need as well. The Mo Wagner example is very, very interesting on this point too. Mo Wagner said on his podcast, recorded on draft day, that he loves the situational line. And obviously he's in a different place. His brother plays here. He's been here for several years. He's very, very comfortable here. He understands he's coming off an injury and that's depressed his market. And he said, look, in German, so translating roughly from German, he said that he would be willing to take a little less money because the situation in Orlando is good. Now, there was a point where he wouldn't do that. Like, I don't think he would have ever done the minimum thing that some people were pitching. But a $5 million deal, about half of what he made last year, seemed about right. And I'm sure the Magic will take care of him on the back end, assuming he's healthy. But this is all part of it. Like, this is all part of the growth of this team. Players are willing to take less to play for the Magic. Players are targeting the Magic as a team they want to play for. Jake LaRavia mentioned the Magic. He ended up staying in Sacramento, I believe, but he mentioned the Magic as a team he'd like to play for. A small bit player at the end of the bench. And that's what's changing right now. And as the Magic get better, and again, as the Magic have fewer resources and are really only able to sign minimum guys or have to do some somersaults to get under the middle, to get under the tax, to use the mid-level exception again, as all this happens, the Magic are going to be a team that people are going to fight to be on. Assuming it all goes well, assuming the Magic are the title contenders we think they can be. This is the direction the Magic are headed. This is the direction the Magic are going. And Tyus Jones is proof of that. Mo Wagner is proof of that. Everything is proof that the Magic are moving in the right direction. Like, look, Desmond Bane said it when it became like possible for him to get traded from Memphis. He felt Orlando would be a good place for him. And this was the place he wanted to be traded. At least that's what he's saying. The Magic are a better team. The Magic are a more competitive team. And the Magic are a team that is going to be a factor moving forward. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can, of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. Don't forget, you can also follow the podcast on YouTube at Locked On Magic. If you haven't done that already, please do so. We're up to 4,500 subscribers. The goal is to get to 5,000 before the start of the season. Thank you all so much for all your support on the podcast, both audio and video. Tremendous growth. Thank you. Thank you so much to all our new listeners. Be part of our everyday crew if you would like to, and we're still going strong all the way through the end of Summer League. As if all that's not enough, you can also check out more Orlando Magic content on my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen today, go make Locked On NBA your second listen of the day, because there is no offseason. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's going to do it for me today. I promise we'll do Summer League stuff. Tomorrow is Summer League preview day. We'll talk about what to expect from Jace Richardson, what to expect from Noah Penda, and probably more importantly, what to expect from Tristan Da Silva. We'll talk about all of that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.